What if it wasn't supposed to be this hard? What if God didn't want us stressed out all the time and overwhelmed and fearful about income? What if He had a really good plan for each one of us to have sustainable income that's easy because it's enjoyable? And what if God actually wanted you to love what you do? Provision may not be blocked. It may be waiting on your trust. By the end of this video, I want to show you 3 ways God often brings income that most people completely overlook. And then I want to give you the blueprint so that you can start seeing things the way that God actually designed them. And then you can start partnering with Him in ways that are breaking you out of this place of overwhelm and fear and into this place of freedom. Hi, I'm Jenny. Welcome to my channel. You know, I think most people are not ungrateful. I don't think that they're lazy. I think that they are tired. That they're tired of being overwhelmed, that they're tired of feeling stuck and like they're never going to get out from underneath what they're going through. And I think it's from that place of tiredness that things like just giving up or not trying or turning to substances or just like not caring if they're over shopping because you know what, I'm never going to get ahead. And these behaviors that come in to kind of rescue us from the hopelessness actually compound the problem and they make it worse. And those things are really stemming from this place of hopelessness and helplessness. But what if there is something that we could do that could shift that in a way with God where we step into who He created us to be? I believe that there's 3 things that you can examine in your life that will really help you understand how you're wired and what He created you to do. But first, let's be really honest. What do we really believe about income, about wealth, about business? I don't know about you, but sometimes it can feel true that maybe the struggle keeps me humble. If it were easy, then I would probably be compromising somewhere. And maybe wanting more than what I have now is just selfish motivation. And you know what? These beliefs kind of feel like maturity, kind of feels like they're righteous Christian beliefs. But if we really look at the Bible, is that what the Bible says? There was a time when I believed a lot of these things. I didn't know it then, but I had a quiet love affair with safety and planning. Then rain started pouring into the building that we had just bought, and we needed $30,000 to fix it that we did not have. I was so stressed. I was second guessing everything. And what happened next completely reshaped how I see income and provision. Before I tell you that story, I need to show you the beliefs that almost kept me from experiencing that miracle. You know, growing up in the church, I kind of got the impression wealthy people probably just care about making money. And they're obviously having an idol instead of serving God. But then whenever I really learned and examined the Bible, I saw Solomon. And the thing with Solomon is that God gave him the wealth. If God was against wealth and believed that wealth led to greed, then why would He do that to him? Because He was actually pleased with him, right? And so God obviously isn't offended by wealth, and He doesn't think that wealth leads automatically to idolatry and greed, or He would have never encumbered someone with that, right? When I really started examining the Proverbs 31 woman, what I found is that she was buying and selling land. Like she was like making real estate deals. I was like, okay. She was also creating this beautiful fabric that she was selling in the marketplace, and she had like very good goods. So she was in commerce. She was making an income and cooking and providing, like sewing clothes. And I really think she was overseeing other people because I don't think that she could have done that all on her own. And so it didn't go into all of it, but it said she ran her household well. Proverbs 31 woman was a boss. She wasn't sitting at home only taking care of her household chores. She was actually also running side businesses. I really believe that there's plenty of biblical evidence that you can have something that is part of your giftings, your talent, your resources that can bring income into the home, and that God's not against that. I feel like that He actually gives us strategies to be able to do that, not in a hustle culture, be obsessed with income type of way, but in ways that I feel like are sustainable and energizing and who God created you to be. And it's going to help and serve who He has for you to help and serve. Because we're having these rhythms outside of the home, it can actually make us better inside the home. I actually really don't think that God is limited. I think that we've just narrowed our understanding and that we aren't allowing Him to help us to develop the plan or to see what he really has. I thoroughly believe that we have one of three things, if not multiple, that partnered with a strategy from God can give us an enjoyable income. And before I talk about how you can examine those in your life, figure out what's there, and come up with a game plan for yourself with God to engage with him for the right strategy, I want to tell you about some of the realities of what it really looks like. So I believe that you have to risk it to get the biscuit. And when my husband and I were 25, we bought a 10,000 square foot building downtown. It was built in 1890. It was very old. It needed lots of work, but we saw a ton of potential. And what ended up happening is this property was very inexpensive to buy, but we still couldn't get a loan on it. Like no bank would loan on it. There was all these problems. So they ended up owner financing for us, which was like a miracle. And so sometimes when you step out in faith, God aligns things that wouldn't normally happen so that you can get what he wants you to get. And that was how this owner finance worked. Well, then fast forward and the roof in the back caves in because it was so bad and needed so much work. We try and do an insurance claim. They deny us. They say it's like just wear and tear and that it was too old. And so we get a quote and we need $30,000. We do not have $30,000. I had just had my second son. I'd just been on maternity leave. I had saved up money and we were living off those savings so that my husband was going to school for Bible college and we had ended up having to put all of that savings down on this building for our 20% down for this owner finance. So we had nothing and now we need $30,000. Well, we know that the banks won't give us any money. And so lo and behold, we ended up with like 30 inches of rain that month. It was terrible. Every time it would rain, the water would pour into the building and I would be riddled with fear and anxiety and overwhelmed. Like, oh my gosh, like we're probably getting black mold. Like all these, like it's probably deteriorating. Like here's all of our money, all of our savings. We jumped into this venture with God and now it's crumbling and I was freaking out. Well, then the government declared a national disaster because there was so much rain within 1 month in Texas. And the Small Business Association, I think it's what it's called, came in and was giving out business loans. And they said they would give us a loan for the 30 grand to redo the roof. And I thought, this is such a miracle. But you know, I just didn't feel good about it. Like I felt so unsettled. Every time I would think about the loan, I would just have this like unease. And one day I just couldn't kick it. It was before the loan was secured. And so finally I was like, okay, God, we won't take the loan. And then I just had peace. Well, then my phone rang and legitimately I was like, that's the money calling. Like God's going to provide the money. Cause I remember saying to God, like, I'll cancel the loan, but you have to provide the money a different way. And when I finally decided it in my heart and the phone rang, I was like, there's God. He's providing the money. No, it wasn't providing the money. It was the loan people calling. And right then I had to tell them that we weren't going to take the loan. And they were like, well, we need to write down a reason why. And I said, okay, you can write down because God will provide a better way. And they were like, okay, you can reinstate this loan within 6 months. Guys, we didn't hear anything for 6 months, nothing. It's still raining. It's still pouring into our building. I'm still feeling helpless. I'm feeling fearful. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And I was obedient, but I didn't have a ton of faith. I was obedient, but I was still filled with fear and overwhelm and anxiety. And lo and behold, 6 months later, someone gave us a check for $28,000. And my husband wanted to tithe 20% of that. And still me, out of fear, he's got the faith. I'm over here like, that doesn't add up. We give away, what is that, like $7,000. We tithe that $7,000. So now we have $21,000. And so Casey was able to do like the demo work himself, and he had some friends that helped him like restructure the wood and stuff. And when it came down to paying the roofer, it cost exactly $21,000. Like only in God's economy can you get less than what the quote is and then tithe 20% and still have enough to pay for the new roof. And so that was just one of the ways that walking on water financially, when you're stepping out in faith, it feels unshaky, but God comes through. He comes through every time. It's usually not early. It's usually last minute because he's giving us opportunity for our faith to grow. It's when we refuse to take risks What we're saying is that we really refuse to trust God. We refuse to be in any situation that makes us feel uncomfortable or scared. And in that, we are refusing to see the miracles in our life. Peter would never have walked on water if he hadn't have gotten out of the boat. And if you didn't notice, the other guys sat in the boat. No one else walked on water. And some people stay in their boat of safety of working the 9 to 5 they're in that they hate, because it feels safer to sit in the boat than it does to step out on the water. But if you step out on the water, God is going to pull you out. Even if you get your eyes on those waves and you sink under, he's going to grab you and he's going to pull you on top of the water. And so I want to preface what I'm about to tell you by saying that it's not always comfortable, and I do believe it takes risks. Faith is spelled R-I-S-K. You got to risk it to get the biscuit. Let's talk about your blueprint, and then I'm going to give you an easy way to do it. So God designed you in such a way, or set you up in such a way, to be able to provide a beautiful income for yourself that is not full of overwhelm or fear or striving or stress or annoyance, that's not encumbersome. And when I started learning about this concept, I started realizing what was wrong in my life. And so I'd gone to this conference and they were talking about that there's things that God created you uniquely. And in his creation of you, he created you with talents, with interest, with resources that would be, not that he created you with resources, but he's provided you with resources or access to certain things, certain people. He's basically set you up in such a way that things can be easy. And when people burn out, it's because they are doing things that are hard for them. I'm going to put instructions in the description so that you can get copy to this to a resource to help you with this. But basically, you need to look at all the things in your life that energize you, that you're good at, but don't really energize you, and the things that drain you. And you need to evaluate, like, do you like bookkeeping? Do you like talking with people? Do you like being crafty? And you're going to evaluate all these different things, and you're either going to give it a red light, green light, or yellow light. Green light is, I love this. This energizes me. I enjoy it. It actually fuels me. Yellow light is, I'm good at this and I can do it, but it doesn't energize me. And then red light is, this drains me. I do not enjoy this. And I want you to look at your green lights, and I want you to evaluate them with God and say, God, in this list, what can I do with these things that can create a sustainable income? And so I'm going to give you some examples. Let's start with talent and skills. Like in the Old Testament, God created artisans and he anointed them with skill for glory and for beauty. Like God cares about glory and beauty in the crafts, in weaving, in sculpting. Like if you are an artist, there is a way to use your art to make money. There's a strategy that God has for you. You're going to have to explore that. You're going to have to think about it. You're going to have to open your mind with him and figure out how that you can do that. Can you do pet photos for people whose pets have passed away? That would be like watercolors for that, like paintings for that. That would be such a thoughtful gift for so many people. They would love that. Maybe you do wall murals. Those are huge right now. In-home wall murals. Maybe you create different sculptures that are specifically for Mother's Day, and it's like a sculpture of the family. Like find something that is fulfilling a need for people. And there's a big need for sentimental, thoughtful gifts. And that's a really good way to use artisan skills. Maybe you're just good with people. Guys, that's a skill. If you know how to communicate, if you kind of understand where people are coming from, that is huge. That would be great for real estate agents. Like, hey, like you have to be able to calm people's fears, be able to say things in a way that they understand, come up with solutions. You have to kind of know how to navigate different types of personalities. There are a lot of different ways that you can use interpersonal skills to serve others in a way that can create a sustainable income. And in all this, guys, I'm not saying that you're not going to have to grow skills, that you're not going to have to you're not going to have to do some learning on how to invoice, how to communicate better, how to set up a system. I'm not saying one of the biggest, most important things that I learned in the beauty salon that I've had, the micro venue that I've started, the real estate that we do is that you have to spend money to make money. If I have $1,200 and we just use it and go on vacation, then the money's gone. But if I take that $1,200 and I put it towards hiring someone to build me a website, some business cards, and posting some Facebook ads in the local community, then I can use that to drive interest into whatever I've built that will create more income flow that potentially could pay for multiple vacations. I'm going to give you the formula so that you can do your blueprint with God with the guide that I've provided. But before I do that, let's talk about the last two things, which is if you don't feel like you have very many skills or talents, then you have interest. There's things that interest you. You might be interested by cars or children or art or gardening or who knows, baking, cooking, all sorts of things. And with those things, I guarantee that you know more than other people in those areas, and that there's things in those areas that other people would gladly pay for because they don't want to do it. And so you can develop a job surrounding one of your interests. And if you're like, Jenny, I don't feel like I have any talents or any interest, well, then you probably have a resource, right? Like even access to a washer and dryer. You can pick up people's clothes, you can gather them, and you can wash and dry them. And in the meantime, you can do you can watch YouTube, you can do whatever you want to do. And so that's a way that you can make income that's relaxing and not stressful. Between your talent, your interest, or your resources, there's something there for you. But the thing that you have to add it to is the willingness to take risks, the right strategy from heaven. In the PDF below, there's a guide that will walk you through this process along with an income calculator. You don't have to go all or nothing. It doesn't have to go like all in. You plan and you set goals. And as you meet those goals, you transition from what you're currently doing into that. Now, if you're not doing anything, then you just set your goals and you say, okay, this is how many services I want to provide or clients I want to have by this many weeks. And when I hit that, then my goal is this. And so with God, He can give you business strategies. That's how he's given me business strategies. I don't believe that God wants you to be miserable. If you have something that you've always longed for and always kind of thought of, I've always wanted to own a boutique, I've always wanted to do this, I've always wanted to do that, it's probably there for a reason. It's probably an invitation from God for you to step into, but it's going to take your partnership and your willingness to take risks, which is faith. Don't stay stuck. Dream big and download your God-given income blueprint builder below. May you be blessed inside and out.